And he paused and dropped everything that he was doing. He looked at me in the face and he said, "Who told you that? Who said that to you?" And I said, "No, I was just thinking about it. I was just doing math." And he's like, "That's apostate thinking." He's like, "Don't ever think that." Didn't get an answer. Did not get an answer. Which I realized, I was like, why are we shutting down questions? Like, if this is the truth, then where's the answer? Like, it's true.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to Apostate Coalition. I am your host, Ryan. We are a news, collaboration, education, entertainment, and information channel. Thanks for watching. This week, I get to interview Nicholas, who is a former Jehovah's Witness, who was at one time disfellowshipped, who has now become an entrepreneur. So talk about overcoming hurdles and struggles and recovering from religion and bettering yourself. You'll want to stick around. I mean, his grandfather actually knew Ray Franz and one of the first elders to ever be appointed in the organization. How cool is that? So please make sure you support his business, support this channel by liking, subscribing, and sharing. Leave a comment if you would. It really helps with the algorithm. I appreciate you all watching. I'll see you on the flip side. Bye.
For sure, yeah. So, I was born in this town called Taylorville, Illinois. It's super small. We have one congregation there, and it had like 300 people. So it was like pretty big for a congregation, and pretty like large, building,
Right.
and located in a small town. So like us and a bunch of small towns near us, that's where everybody went. So I grew up there for like the first 16 years of my life. I was born in. My mom and my dad were both Jehovah's Witnesses when I was born. And both of my grandparents were also Jehovah's Witnesses. So, my grandfather on my dad's side, Terry, was actually one of the first elders that was ever appointed when you could appoint elders. So, like, my family
Oh,
has been,
really?
yeah, and my uncles, like, my dad's parents were missionaries. They went across, like, overseas. My dad was actually conceived in Bolivia. We always made jokes about that.
Wow.
Just because like that's the reason they had to leave, is because they got pregnant with my dad in Bolivia. And then my grandfather was in Bethel, on the farm, and then my uncle, my dad's brother, is also in Bethel and is an elder in the Spanish congregations. And my dad's other brother, who's like in between my age and my dad's age, he's an elder now. So everybody on that side of my family is an elder, except for my dad, who left in 2010. Um, him and my mom split, and he left the organization.
Wow.
So like for me, I had a different like perspective because I grew up heavily involved in the church, and I live with my mom, who's like all in 100% Jehovah's Witness, doesn't believe anything else, right?
Right.
Doesn't won't even like entertain anything, um, and thinks that you're like pushing dogma on her if you're like trying to help her, understand something. I love my mom, but like I remember we've had conversations before, where she's like, I don't want to be forced to believe something or told. I was like, yeah, me neither. Like that's what I'm telling you. Like I'll still have a relationship with you. You can be a Jehovah's Witness, and I'm not going to be. Neither one of us wants to be forced to do anything. But if you want to have like a civil conversation with me, I'll talk to you. I understand your viewpoints. You don't understand mine. Like already though.
Right.
So, but anyway, so growing up, I became an unbaptized publisher when I was like 9, and I did like all the public talks that I could, but I realized that like in Taylorville, I just didn't feel like I belonged. There was a lot of cliques in the congregation there, and I felt like I didn't like really fit into any of the cliques. And like by the time I was 14, like I was always interested in science. I was always interested in psychology, and I started to like look. Like, they said, oh, don't listen to evolution, don't listen to evolution. And like, I would like, shut my brain off at school whenever evolution would come. But then like one of my friends at school was just like, creationism, like it's super flawed, and evolution is like the cornerstone of all biology and medical science. And he's like, you get a vaccine, thanks evolution, stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, And then like I started learning, by the time I was like 16 about like logical fallacies and whatnot. And at that time, you think that if you're not like fully believed in the religion, and everybody else around you is like pressured to be in the religion, and your family and your whole support group and everything that is in that, you think that if you're not vibing with it, or relating to it, that that's wrong. So I kept throwing myself into it more and more. We switched to sign language in Springfield. I told my mom that we needed to get out of Taylorville. We switched to sign language, and I like auxiliary pioneered for a time. And even whenever I wasn't like pioneering, I was still going out preaching, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, in
Oof.
sign language. But like, truth be told, a huge reason that I went and did that is because I had a lot more fun using a new language and like learning a whole new
Right.
language. And so like, even if I like, part of me was like, I want to get the impression on the deaf people. Like, I really respected the fact that like Jehovah's Witnesses think that they're helping people and they want to help them in their native language. I do respect that notion, and especially with sign language, they went full sail with it. There was not speaking and signing; it was full sign. And like, even other churches that I've seen, they might have an interpreter for deaf people, but they don't have anything that's like in the language of ASL. So I appreciate that, but
It's
I was also a
respectable.
kid. Yeah, and so I was able to be put into a new environment. So um, I got baptized in like April of 2016, um, because at that time, actually, basically every single demonstration at the assemblies was like I remember specifically one of a kid who got his driver's license, and they're like, "Oh, you're driving a car? Like you're old enough to drive, but you're not baptized." And like like they're trying to like denote that as being like a bad influence in the congregation, when it's like,
Yeah.
but it's like you can't enter into a legal marriage or a legal contract until you're 18, which is still ridiculously young to be signing away at something that is life changing, and like a lifelong agreement. And these people, there's kids getting baptized when they're 9. They don't even ask them
Yeah.
all the questions like, how are you putting them into a lifelong contract if the stipulations of the contract changes with age, or the way that they understand it changes with age? That would tell me that they're not able to do that. So I don't understand how
Right. They
you can
can't
hold.
consent.
Yeah, yeah. So there's no, and they understand that with some things, but apparently not that. The most like
Uh-huh.
binding thing ever. So,
They'll
anyway,
infantilize people when they need to, but then make them adults when necessary for their purposes.
yeah, exactly. Um, anyway, my cousin was older. He was like 40, and he grew a beard, and I had started to like piece everything together. Like well, first of all, I started getting facial hair, and I wanted to grow a beard. I always wanted to grow a beard, and I started to like piece together like things that were like issues everywhere. For me, it started with like beards, like questioning like why it's wrong, and like never getting a straight answer. There never being anything, which is like I know it's like and my stepfather and my mom would always be dumbfounded as to like why I'm like so caught up on this. They're like, it's like it's not important. And I'm like, exactly, it's not important. So why is this
Hmm.
so, what's wrong with that?
Use their logic back on them.
Yeah. So that started, and then I dyed my hair blonde. I did like blonde tips, and I was like skateboarding, and I was like, I was an only child, so I was like going out and trying to have fun and like make a life. And then I forgot to mention earlier, sorry, I'm going on tangents, but starting from the time that my parents got divorced, when I would go spend time with my dad, I actually got exposure to like a real childhood. So I remember like having to keep it under wraps that I was going to like haunted houses and stuff. And so I would like go to haunted houses and like,
Oh.
like celebrate Christmas and Halloween and shit on the DL. And then I would come back and give talks about the world in sign language. But I also, I don't know, like part of, like, I felt like I truly was leading a double life. And like at first I was like kind of sad. Like I felt guilty until I really started to realize that it was all like bogus, like it was mostly the safe face. But for years, I felt really guilty. I was excited to see my dad every time, and especially since I knew that it meant I was going to get like a taste of like a normal childhood. Um,
Right.
But by the time I was like 16, I was at my cousin's house who had grown the beard, and we were talking about creationism and like the ark, specifically. And if anybody here is somehow like not from ex Jehovah's Witnesses or from Jehovah's Witnesses at all, like the Jehovah's Witnesses are pretty fundamentalist, so they believe like literally in like the interpretation of the Bible, which includes
Yep.
the Great Flood and creationism. And they also believe that the Earth is only like 6,000 years
Six.
older. Yeah, like the 6,000-year-old new Earth. And so my cousin just dropped some math on me one day because I was like trying to rationalize. I had brought it up to him that like I was just like, this isn't like the Great Flood. There's no evidence for it. Everything that we say is like circumstantial. Like how and like with the Garden of Eden, like how is there lions and like animals that are designed to be carnivorous with like bodies that are made that way if they're not out
Exactly.
actually like hunting. And like I just felt comfortable telling him that. And he looked at me and he said, he told me that sorry, I got a message, I got a order.
No worries.
And
Well, that's a good thing.
I'm a little
That's a
stoked
good.
right now.
That's a really good thing.
Yes, it
Thank you,
is.
Jehovah. No,
Yeah,
I'm just
thank
kidding.
you. Praise God. I got my business partners in here laughing at us right now. But sorry, where was I at? I was with my cousin Jared.
Right.
And he dropped a stat on me, and he said, if the ark happened, 3,000 or 4,000 years ago, okay, and every animal, that we found now since then, Jehovah would have had to create like 3,000 or something animals per day every day up until today to justify
Right.
the number of animals that we found that we didn't know about back then, especially like if we had 7 of every kind. And then what I've gotten to do with like my parents and other Jehovah's Witnesses is immediately accept like microevolution right off the bat, because like you can't deny.
Uh-oh.
I'm about to
Oh.
just put on do not disturb.
Oh, stuff coming through. Oh, you're a busy man. You're a busy man. You're wanted. That's
Yeah,
okay. That's a good thing when you're a businessman. That's a good thing.
yeah. Sometimes it's annoying, but
But
yeah,
it's a lot. I
especially when
understand.
you're a startup, because like it feels like you're working all the time and like you're
It's
losing
all
money.
on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because like we're like a high growth startup, so like everything that we have like gets reinvested back into this business. My business partner and I are just like burning our own, like we've burned all of our own funds. I was a banker
Oh.
before this. And I invested my entire retirement account into this, which you shouldn't do. I don't recommend doing that, but I'm 23, so if I ruin my life right now, it's fine by the time I'm 30. So
You get a second chance on life, man.
yeah,
You
thank
left the
you.
JWs. You already got 2 chances. You're going to go on to
Yeah,
your third
yeah,
chance. You're a
yeah.
cat.
Come on, the new phase of life. But anyway, I brought that up to my grandpa the same day because they lived in the same city, and whenever I brought it up to him, he said, "Who told you that?" And my cousin Jared, like just before, was like, "Don't bring this up with anybody." Jehovah's Witnesses, and he specifically said, are a high control group. They control your thoughts and they control what you say. And if you start saying something like that, then they're all gonna watch you. And like that was like a weird indicator because like as a kid I had already felt that, but to hear a grown adult who's in my family that I'm close with, that I look up to and I respect, who's telling me that what I'm saying is like when feeling is like valid and a valid experience, that he has too, valid observation. I was like, there's something to that, but you know what? It's also I only know this and there's only this, like what else am I supposed to do? So I asked my
Right.
grandpa, my elder grandpa, my dad's father, um, you know, I laid the same thing out, the same stat for him that day. And he paused and dropped everything that he was doing. He looked at me in the face and he said, "Who told you that? Who said that to you?" And I said, "No, I was just thinking about it. I was just doing math." And he's like, "That's apostate thinking." He's like, "Don't ever think that." Didn't get an answer. Did not get an answer. Which I realized, I was like, why are we shutting down questions? Like if this is
Right.
the truth, then where's the answer? Like it's true, you
You can
know?
refute it. You can
Well, yeah,
refute it if it's
whether
the
or not
truth.
something's true, if it's something's true, you could present the data to prove it. If you're not presenting the data, then it's not a question of faith; it's a question of honesty, And like that's one issue I have with faith as a whole, especially for any belief system, because personally, I feel like you can't really separate faith and delusion. In my experience, like I know a lot of people that believe things just because, and especially after having to do the grinding to leave the organization, and now in business where everything that we do has to have like a return or a purpose or a reason. It's like I really value like rationalizing and like logic and stuff like that, but at
Critical
any rate,
thinking.
yeah. But then when I was 17, on my graduation party day, I had been talking to some of my other friends in sign language, and we all wanted to get high. We all wanted to smoke weed for the first time. So I got a connection from my one of my coworkers at Walmart, to give me her weed connect here in Springfield. And me and my friends left during the party, went and bought like I think a quarter ounce, like the first time ever, just some like brown weed. It wasn't legal at the time.
Like shake or something.
Yeah, it wasn't like legal at the time, and I was a kid, so I was just getting what I got. So I wasn't the
It was
best weed.
probably good. It was probably good though, considering if you've never had it, it's
Oh
probably
yeah, it
better
was
than
like
nothing.
fire. Yeah, for
Right.
sure. It got the job done.
It got it done.
But I would never go there again.
Nah, no, not when you can get it
But
better. Absolutely.
um, then we got kind of like out of control with it. Like we made edibles immediately. Like we were getting like pretty high, and I was
Wow.
like, "This is so cool!" And like nobody, like I know that's like I'm not trying to get on here and be like, "Kids do drugs." Definitely, be safe and like be an adult. Like don't be a
Don't do
child.
drugs.
Yeah, yeah. Are you getting high right now? Oh, no.
Yeah.
That's why I was at a business. I was at a business partner's building before I came here. I was smoking his hash. I was like, I'm gonna be 10 minutes late on the hash.
Sorry about
Um,
that.
anyway, so I started sharing that with my friends, like my friends Jesse and Paul growing up, or my best friends in sign language. I told my friend Noah about it, but he was like we always made jokes. We would go to the square downtown, and he'd pull up. He drove a Mustang. He'd be like, "You guys got any weed?" And then he'd just like pull away. So I thought like he'd be more cool with it, but he was just like, "Oh, dude, like you can't tell
Skirt.
anybody about this." And then I took it with me on my vacation to Florida, which happened like relatively quickly after my graduation party. Um, and one of the kids that was there with me, I believe it was this kid. We were kind of like cool or whatever, but he got mad at me, or he got busted, and he told on me. Um,
Did
so I got disfellowshipped when I was 17, and
you were
um,
DF'd at
he
17.
yeah, and he got reproved. My friends Jesse and Paul got reproved. So there was like three people that got reproved, and I got disfellowshipped. And when I got disfellowshipped, it was for brazen conduct, is what they told me, because I had
Were you
the.
not sorry or what was
Well, I think it was
sorry?
because, I mean, yeah, I was. But first of all, the guy that turned me in, okay, I was at his house. He was like a family friend of ours, okay, and he was a good guy. But he got mad at me, rightfully so. I was smoking weed with his kid, but his kid was like 26, and I was like
Oh,
16.
please.
So,
Adult, a grown ass adult, please.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, yeah. Which I mean, he was like developmentally challenged, so like that's why he would hang
Okay.
out with like teenagers. But it's like he's also 20, like he's not like that developmentally challenged. He didn't know
Right.
what it was. He was like doing,
Right.
and we wouldn't let him do it. Like we would like give him like a toke or something, but I wasn't gonna like let him sit there and rip a bong because, again, he is developmentally challenged.
You were trying to be a bit responsible, but still
Yeah,
allow somebody who's 20 something years old to enjoy their life.
yeah, and I was a kid, and also they let him drink beer. Like he's old enough to drink beer. He'll go buy his own.
Oh, well, come on now.
Yeah, yeah,
Beer is addictive.
yeah. It's
So,
worse. Yeah.
right?
But
People
anyway,
are dying of alcoholism. People aren't dying from weed that I know of. Just saying.
yeah. Anyway, the night before, that's true. Sorry, nobody's dying of weed unless they're like getting high and driving. then you
Maybe
might
if they're
die.
putting it up their
Yeah.
butt, but I don't even know if that would kill you. So,
If you like rupture the blood vein or something. No,
right,
but
like, well, they do the tampons soaked in alcohol. You never know. They're doing tampons soaked in weed. Okay, I am sorry I
dude,
went there.
yes. Put a tampon, soak it, and distill it overnight,
Right.
and
Just
then
saying.
that might work. Who knows? RSO. Who knows?
Somebody has probably thought of that. We cannot be the first. So
No, I
do
don't
not
want to.
judge me.
I'm not going to do any research on it either, so I will not be thinking
Don't.
about it
Me
further.
neither. I promise.
But anyway,
So
yeah,
anyway,
so,
you're hanging out with these friends,
yeah,
and
it was in
some of
Florida.
them get disfellowship. I mean, some
I
of them
got
get
disfellowshipped.
reproved, but you got disfellowshipped.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
and you're saying that it's for brazen
Conduct. Yeah. I
conduct.
mean, truth be told, I was the newest person in the sign language congregation. I was the newest person, like in the whole group of people. I was the newest one that was baptized, and like all my friends were like elders' kids, right? So like, I was the least favorite, and my dad was
Okay. And your
disfellowshipped.
father's, see right
Yeah.
there. There's, in my opinion, there's always there's more opportunity for those who have somebody in their family that has some kind of elite position, like an elder or ministerial servant, and that
Oh
it's
yeah.
more likely it'll be overlooked if there's bad conduct and behavior versus you with a single mom. There's probably even more stigma put upon her that she might not even realize that people were judging your family situation, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, she did because like first of all, I feel like I make it a point to be respectful, okay, and especially like as a Jehovah's Witness and in a small town, you're raised to show a certain level of
Right.
respect, but also I have always been like relatively curious. I don't want to say studious because I'm not like a college student or like like anything, but like I've always
It's a good way to put it.
like to like do research and like put my opinion on stuff. And like I said, even whenever I was a kid, I like to have the why and the reason and like the like how stuff worked and was put together. And people in the congregation would like call me haughty because like, oh, Nick's haughty, like because I didn't
Oh,
like
I
if
thought you
somebody
said hottie, and I was like, well, you're cute, but what?
no, I did not have
Haughty.
that
No, I
problem.
get it. Haughty. Yes. No,
Yes.
I get it because they think you know you know too much because you're curious and you're looking into stuff.
Yeah, and they think that um my friend's mom, she told me about Nikola Tesla. She's like, the demons like created the radio. Like I was like, what? And she's like, Nikola Tesla like had a dream about like like invisible radio waves, and invented it from that. Like, what do you think that was? It's invisible. You
I've
can't see
never.
it. I'm like, no.
We love you, Nikola
And
Tesla.
because I
Just
didn't
so
just
you know,
accept that,
I love you.
what?
I just told Nicholas Tesla, if he's listened, that we love you and we do not think that you are a demon or demons helped you, brother. You were just smart. I apologize for the witness thinking.
He was a little bit of a weirdo, though. He did like
He
marry a pigeon or something.
weird weird is okay. Weird is what I got. Weird is all I am. But
Yeah, me
demons,
too.
that's a whole nother level.
Yeah, I remember like that was like a fun thing about being in a small town, Southern Illinois, and being in a cult is just like all the demons around you. Like always
Always
gotta be like on the
demons.
lookout. And you grew up with people that were like prolific Jehovah's Witnesses in the 70s and 80s. So then they're like demon Smurfs. Like look out for the Smurfs.
Yep,
Yeah.
the Smurf
So
that got up and walked down the kingdom hall and walked itself
yes.
out.
And
Yeah.
everybody saw it. Every single person that I've
Everybody
seen. Yeah, that
saw
happened at my
it.
congregation in June.
Oh
Yeah,
my
like
God.
and
Yeah.
it's funny now because actually my business partner Ellen, she grew up in a different cult. So like she grew up in like a charismatic cult in
Okay.
Portland. And so sometimes like we compare notes. We'll be like, okay, well like here's a fucked up thing my cult did. It's like, oh, well, here's a similar thing that my cult did, and we're like always going back and forth. And it's like she'll say something, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right on the money with how my childhood worked, you know.
And
Um,
I think that's a common theme when it comes to high control religions. They're different, but they are the same. So
Oh
we have
yeah.
unique experiences, but they still are based off of those same weird ass principles. So as much as it's different, it is all the same. Like at least for me, it's comforting now because I know all the weird stuff that I went through as a kid. There's there's other people who've been through it. So as much as it's unique to me, it's probably similar in some respects for somebody else. So I guess it's a little comforting, but I'd like to try to change that for the next generation and
Yeah.
help fix
Yeah.
things. But
But we're not going to be able to do that. I mean, Toni Morris leaving might do something, but we're not going to be able to do that. I mean, that's the problem is that like even the people in the higher ups, like the governing body, I genuinely believe that for the most part, most of them fully believe it. Fully believe it.
do you?
I think that they have like a superiority complex for sure. It's no
They're haughty.
surprise that they're all white dudes, right? For the most part, they're all
Yep.
dudes by design, and then second, they're all white dudes except for there's a couple of African Americans, and that's it. Like,
One.
there's only one African American.
There's only one governing body member, Samuel Hurd. Now they're helpers. They're helpers that are below them. They
I
have
thought
that
Helper
are
just
all
got promoted
different.
like recently, but I might be wrong.
Two white guys.
Two white guys.
Two more balding white guys.
Wow. Is he like
More of the same.
yeah? So I think that they have just a crazy superiority complex, and they like have bought into it their whole lives, and they're just like fully immersed into it, and like so I think that's part of it, But I don't remember where I was going with this before.
I think you were because I was saying my goal is to try to help
Oh,
people
right,
maybe
right.
even, and you were saying you don't really think that much change will happen, and you're probably right. What can I do as an apostate? I've already got a
Yeah,
target on my back, so who
yeah.
am I?
Never gonna listen
But
to us. It will never be
but
us. Yeah,
if we can hold them accountable in the government, who knows what will happen? And you're right. It might
yeah,
just be
yeah.
banging our heads against the wall, but I'm willing to at least make them take some money out of their pocket. I'm at least
For
happy
sure.
to make
Yeah.
them lose some money.
Yeah, yeah. I just mean like as far as actual change that can be made from external
Like
forces,
policies
for
and
sure. We can do something like with like the government. We can like, talk to people and like educate people on what it's like. Like I do that. I'm pretty open about it. I don't it's not been since I've been a business owner and I've been doing these. This is the first one I've ever done where I've just talked about being a Jehovah's Witness. I did like a 20-minute piece on one of my longer interviews with this guy, Illinois, once as well. But I've just really been opening it up about it this year because I've been trying to retain relationships within my family, right? But my
right.
grandpa died a year ago, 2 days ago. Okay. He was old. He was
Sorry
82,
for your loss.
83, 82. He was
A good
82.
life, hopefully.
Yeah. No, he was 92. He
Oh
was
damn.
7 years older than me. Yeah. So
Damn.
he died. And when I went to the funeral, literally, like, my mom was one of 8. Okay. And my grandpa was like one of 13. So my family's huge. And most of
Right.
them are Jehovah's Witnesses. And I went to the funeral. And when my grandpa first had died, like, I went there the night that he died to be there with my grandma and my mom. And like another visit that we had there, some of my cousins talked to me. Most of them acted like I didn't exist. And then at the funeral, the same thing like happened. And like if somebody would talk to me, they'd be like, "Oh, you should come back. Come back." And
Yeah.
I remember when I was leaving, I was trying to tell my Aunt Teresa that I loved her, and she literally grabbed me by my shirt and told me, she's like, "Your mom's heart is broken. You need to come back." And I was gonna just keep my mouth shut, but sometimes that's hard. And I was just like, well, that would be dishonest. Like I don't believe this. I'm not gonna come back. And she's like, well, sometimes you gotta do the right things for the wrong reasons until they become the right reasons. And I was like, I don't think that that's accurate. Whenever you're denoting, dedicating your entire life to a religion, especially for one person's satisfaction, I'd be much happier if you and my mom were instead not bigots. That would be great, like that.
Reasonable people.
But
How about just be reasonable?
yeah, but I just like I love my family, and I know that like for them they have bought into the religion for so long, the cult for so long, and like it's not like any of them are first time generations. They're also born in, and
Right.
only know it. Like that's all they know. And they've bought into dogma for 50 plus years, saying not to listen to anybody, any criticism, and that any criticism of Jehovah's organization, quote unquote, is like propaganda and dogma from Satan. So like it's
Apostate
hard. It's
material.
like
Apostate
what am I
material.
supposed to do with that? Like to them, like I'm a pothead that left because I wanted to marry
Yeah.
a
You're
girl
a
that was.
typical worldly guy.
Yeah. I have tattoos. I have a beard. I smoke weed.
Ugh, I've got
Like I'm
guns.
like the worst, right? And to top it all off, I have like a small business. But that's another thing that I never like understood either, is because I don't have like a love of money, like I'm trying to do something that matters, in a space that's like still being built up, and we're trying to help, like my goal as a business is to help small businesses, with like the coming like wave of e-commerce for head shops, because like
Awesome.
as like
Laws
cannabis
change and
becomes,
stuff.
more and more like rapidly accepted and legalized, there's a lot of like acquisition and shutdowns that are happening. And like in Canada, where they have federal legalization, this company called High Tide Group Inc. is like going in and buying up all the head shops that are like making over $1 million, and trying to tank all the ones that aren't, so they can own like all the cap, like all the space.
Right.
And then they bought basically like all the high profile online head shops. So they own like Smoke Cartel and Grass City and stuff like that, and like Daily High Club. They own all of those places,
Wow.
um, and they're using those as like the break into the U.S. market. And they said that like within the next like 5 years, that they're going to be the number one in not only U.S. but like all, or Canada, but all of North America, including the United States. And so like they wanted to do like acquisition on that. And so like my goal, like I have a marketplace, so I want to go in and help all these small businesses that aren't selling online to sell online, so that we can have a
Yeah.
fighting chance. Because
That's awesome.
yeah, like when Amazon opened, they instead fought all the bookstores, and like what do you have a local bookstore? Because we don't. We have like a Barnes and Noble sometimes.
Yep. Yes,
Um,
sometimes.
So, well, yeah, actually, I'll take that back. We do have a local bookstore now, but it's all used and thrifted books. There's no new bookstores. Um,
Okay.
so, and it's like a community thing. But one thing I really like about the city I'm in, that I'm from, really, Springfield, Illinois, the capital. It's a small town, a small city. It's like 150,000 or something. Less than that, it's like 111. Is that we have like a huge focus on local shit, and I just really appreciate that. Like I really like it's just cooler here because of that. Like when I go to LA, I got married in May, and wow, I just like forgot my wedding day for a second. I was like, wait, did I get married? No, but I got married in May, and my wife and I, we were in LA, and like everything's a franchise. They don't have like the support local, support local. It's like if there's a restaurant, there's probably three of them, at the least, and
Yeah.
it's not the same there. So it's one thing I like about here. But yeah. Anyway, at any rate, um, I've been out. When I got disfellowshipped in 2017, I did everything I could to get back in. I was disfellowshipped for like 10 months. And I wrote a bunch of letters, and I'm like, I'm a good writer. So I think it took me either 2 or 3 letters. But yeah, so I got reinstated. In that time, I started dating my wife now. And like even when I was disfellowshipped, I was still like on the fence. I was still dealing with the feeling of like, do I want to leave, or like do I want to stay? Like, am I wrong for thinking that
Mm-hmm.
there's other options out there for other things that I want to do? Like I wanted to go to college, like I wanted to get like a good job. I wanted to like do something, like make a name for myself or something
Right.
bigger. And in that time, like one of my other friends who had gotten reproved at the same time, Jesse, he started texting me while I was disfellowshipped, and I would like go and hang out with him and his wife, and he like pulls out this like bong collection and like all these pipes and like everything, like like he never stopped smoking weed, and they started doing the congregation reshuffles, and they were asking him and his wife to leave sign language so that way they could be more spiritually supported in English.
Okay.
And then they did the congregation like switcheroo. So they just dipped, never talked to anybody again.
Oh.
And they were like they showed me John Cedars, man. The John Cedars YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I watched that thing for like 2 years. I watched every single video that he made, and I watched like his whole backlog, and then I watched Telltale Atheist as well. Like those people, like when they were on the come up back in like 2018, like
Mm-hmm.
2017, 2018, 2017 really is when I started to really consume all that content. And then by the time I was 18, I started like identifying as like an atheist and a skeptic. I was like, this is bogus. Like all of this is bogus. Like
Right.
um, which I mean, like nowadays, like I'm still an atheist and a skeptic, but I'm not like, oh, I need to break down everybody's belief system and like everybody has to be an atheist. And that's not me at all. So, but I do that for myself, of course. But anyway, that's when I realized that like I didn't believe it and that it was cool to leave and that there was like other options. And I got a job at working in a bank right at 18 because I knew I needed to like establish like financial security for myself and like get a retirement account and stuff. And I was working for a small business and at Best Buy at the time because when I was disfellowshipped, I had nothing else to do. That's when I gained a bunch of weight because what else are you gonna do? You can't hang out with anybody that's not in the cult. You
Right.
can't hang out with anybody in the
Oh,
cult. And like I wanted to skateboard, but it was kind of boring skateboarding by myself all the time when I could like be making money. So
that
I would like,
sucks. Yeah.
and this was like pre DoorDash era, so there was like some like food delivery services, and I would I would like sit and work on my computer and like order like $25 worth of Chinese food, and I was like, I'll split that between lunch and dinner, and I didn't. I would always just because I love
Just eat
Chinese
it
food.
all.
Yeah, and then I realized that I was gaining weight, and I was like, shit, and I was like depressed, but whatever, it's fine. That's growing up. Um, but
I mean, I do think that part of that is just growing up, but I also think that when you're adding on top of it seclusion, ostra,
ostracization, I can't say it.
yes, when you're ostracizing people, right? Like that can put people in a serious depression. And if you don't have association with people that you used to be able to hang out, I don't know. I don't think that is not normal.
No.
It's not normal for kids to have to live through that in their teenage years. You're supposed to be enjoying yourself and not at home writing letters trying to get back into a society that has ostracized you.
Yeah,
I said it.
publicly. And I remember
Right, yeah, publicly.
one of the most wild things about when I was disfellowshipped, the week before I was disfellowshipped, they announced the approvals because disfellowshippings always take like an extra week or whatever to process, or they like have like a period for you to contest the decision or whatever the hell.
I guess, yeah, maybe.
And so my friends Jesse and Paul, they were disfellowshipped or reproved. I didn't go to that meeting. The next meeting I did go to where I was disfellowshipped, and the elders would just like walk on stage, and one of them would sign, and it'd be dead quiet, and then they'd be like, "Oh, we have like an announcement," and then they would speak out loud. And they were like, "Brother Nick Thomas is disfellowshipped," or Nicholas Thomas is disfellowshipped, not brother. And then like in sign language, they're like, Nick Thomas no longer brother, right? So it's just so it's kind of like breaks you, and then it's dead quiet, and like you're signing the final song and everything, and you can just hear like all the people in the crowd just like sniffing because like even though like it is a toxic environment and messed up, like these people do a lot of people are compassionate and they're doing things for the right reasons, but they're just caught up in the wrong system. Like that's the
Right.
saddest part of all of it. There's like so many good people that are just like duped into being bad, and it's hard for me to like, because I understand where they're coming from. I understand the entire belief system coming out of being a Jehovah's Witness, but at this point where I'm 23 and I'm watching people justify like homophobia, transphobia, like misogyny and stuff like that because of the religion, and it's like, okay, well, that doesn't negate the fact that now you're homophobic, transphobic, and misogynistic, like you just are. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but then whenever I left, I got reinstated, and then we moved from sign language to English in that time frame. I got reinstated into an English congregation. I don't even remember which one. And then I moved congregations again myself because I wanted to be in the same one as my friend. And this is during the congregation reshuffle as well.
Okay.
Um, and uh, then I started like they really started like putting the pressure on me, right? Because like whenever you come back, like you got to prove that you're back. So I
Right,
was,
you've got to go to every meeting, and if you finally get your response like privileges back, you got to answer, and you got to go out in field service. If you get that privilege back, yeah, they expect you to like be the top of your game when you come back.
yeah. And so I was going to field service, and I remember like I have like a recording, which I think it's probably illegal to have or to disperse or whatever. But I would like record like meetings and stuff because I was just like once your mind's open, you're like, this is insanity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I would like record like the talk from the circuit overseer, who was talking about he's like, oh, this isn't to scare you, but he's like, Jehovah was gonna kill all of his enemies in a snap, and like whatever, like some like crazy like thing to say on the stage where like everybody's jaw dropped. I got like
Don't
that
be
one
afraid.
camera. And I got this ministerial servant from the congregation that I was going to. We went to a house out in service, and they like shot us down, and then like everybody in the neighborhood shot us down because they had like a neighborhood chat or whatever, and they were talking about it. And he got back in the car, and he was like laughing, and I'm like, what? And he's like, Jehovah's gonna kill them all, and then what? Ha ha ha. He's like, they're not Jehovah's Witnesses. Like, ha ha ha. Jehovah's gonna kill them all. And then like they kept sending that guy. Whenever I dipped, he was the one that would call me all the time and like try to like reestablish a connection. I was like, I don't know you, and on top of not knowing you, you're a bad person that wants people to die, dude. Like you want
Right.
these
You
people
think
to
it's funny.
die. I have that on camera. Like I wasn't gonna really be like I have that on camera, but I do have that on camera.
But you have it. Oh
Yeah,
God.
and I
Wow.
remember like I recorded a conversation with my cousin Aaron, who became an elder. We were like best friends. We were in my family. Like I explained, we're a huge family, but they're super nerdy family, and super like if they weren't all in the religion, that there'd be a lot more LGBTQ people. Okay, my
Right.
wife and I talk about that. Like just point blank, it's true.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones that leave, like some of them do become and start identifying under the LGBT thing, which is like amazing, like good
Yeah.
for them.
I'm friends with a lot
Um,
of people. Yeah.
yeah. So, um, sorry, my cousin Aaron, he became an elder. I got a recording of him we were talking about beards or whatever, and I asked him a question. I remember him saying, "Well, that's above my pay grade," and like we try to I try to talk about like how we're all gonna live on Earth, how nobody's gonna die, and we're gonna keep like expanding the Earth, or like how lions have sharp teeth and stuff like that to eat animals and stuff. And I remember him saying that it was above his pay grade. And it's just like, no, no, you've dedicated your whole life to this and you're an elder. So it's not above your pay grade. You should probably know, you
You
know?
probably should know.
And
Exactly.
and he's like a smart guy too. But his uncle, or his father, my uncle, in 2015, had died of cancer, and my other cousin, who was his best friend, had killed himself in 2012. So, which
Mm.
I that's like a lot of information, but I know that like grief is on his mind, and he's like taking care of his mom, and like he probably is not he doesn't have the space to deal with that.
Yeah.
Because whenever I remember, even for me, when I was leaving, I looked up to my Uncle Mike so much. I loved my Uncle Mike, and my cousin Ben, he looked just like me. So for years, not anymore, I look totally different, but my aunt would see me and like cry for years.
Oh,
And like
because
when
you
he was
look like
alive, yeah, and when he was alive, my mom would like call us like the twins and stuff as a joke. He was much older than me. He was like 15 years older than me. But So I know like those things like weigh on him, but I never really got to have like a final conversation with him because the like the CO and like the other elders decided that he was like too emotionally involved, I believe. And so he was one of the ones that even at my grandpa's funeral last year didn't even acknowledge my presence.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Um,
That's sad.
Yeah, it sucks. We were really close. I would go to like he would come to my house like every Wednesday. My family did like a family study, but like we took in like kind of like a misfits type thing, like my cousins and other people, and then that just broke off into family study. Kind I guess like back in the day, there used to be like that midweek book study or whatever. That was like another meeting that was just like at people's houses. Do you remember that?
Yeah, we book study. We called it Tuesday night book study. That's when we had ours.
Yeah, so I think that's when we had ours too. So I remember them.
Yeah.
They got rid of that when I was like young, like 8 to 10, somewhere in there,
Okay.
like 2008 or something like that. I don't know. Um, but we started basically doing that again because like nobody was doing family study. That was clear. Like nobody would do it on their own. So we'd have like our friends get together on Wednesdays and we would study for the meeting.
Oh my God.
And that's what we started doing. Like everybody in Taylor. This was before I went to sign language. Like there was just like, but it'd be fun because it would be kind of like absurd because my friend Andrew and I, who I believe, he just married my cousin Kira, and it's one of those weird things because he's like in his mid-30s, and my cousin Kira's 23 as well. So he like babysat her and like watched her growing up and shit. And also he has
Right.
always given off like he's always been like, not that this means anything. Of course I don't want to like say that this means that he's like homosexual, but he's always like given off those vibes. He had like dolls, like he like made outfits for himself, and he would buy Barbies like Ken dolls, and he'd paint them to look like him and make outfits like on the Ken dolls, and like men would hit on him all the time. And he told me when he was
Mm.
like 29 that he'd like never like really held anybody's hand or like kissed a girl or anything like that. And like that's like told me like that's like an indication because like he was like a super sweet guy and like good
He's
looking guy
never been able to
and everything.
process.
And like had like a lot of like like even what do they call that, like when somebody is metrosexual, like
Yeah.
he had that, but like of course like you couldn't even be kind of metrosexual in the congregation. So like he was like demonized for this effeminate, like the effeminate energy, which I have that a lot too. So I'm not saying that, but it's just it didn't
But you
seem right.
can't be that person. You're
Yeah,
even if it's just a straight guy but it has a feminine energy, like
yeah,
that's a problem. You can't
yeah,
be like that.
yeah. And it just really seemed like like if he wasn't in a homophobic cult surrounded by homophobes, like his dad making a joke about when that shooting happened in Colorado at the gay bar. He literally said, "Did you hear the good news?" Shit like that. So it's like you have all this homophobia around you at any
Disgusting,
point in
man.
time. It's like, how could you even explore that? How could you even like look at yourself and so anyway, we would do like book study and stuff, and then watch rated R movies. like, like we'd be like, yo, like
True
yeah,
Jehovah's Witnesses.
yeah. Like one time we did our book study, and then we read the Bible, and then we binged the entire first season of oh man, 13 Reasons Why.
Oh, okay. Wow. That's a deep
So
one.
yeah, I was there for like 15 hours. But because we like I said, we watched the whole first season. But like it's like it's kind of messed up to go from the Bible to that.
Reading the Bible, doing book study to
But yeah, like
it's
I miss that.
entertainment.
Like, I miss those. I do miss those people. I don't really think about it that often anymore because once you leave the religion and you start doing your own thing, I don't know if this happens for everybody, but for me, it was just like I disconnected from it all. I rebuilt my own life. I'm married now to the girl I started dating when I was 17. My wife Hallie. She works in the business with us as well, but she also has a full-time job. I'm married now. I have like my own friends, and some of my family has left, which has like been pretty great because that like my cousin that I told you about earlier, him and his wife
Yeah.
left, and
Oh,
like
good, good.
20 other of my cousins have left. So like now like I actually have like a decently sized support group. And I
That's
just
really
remember
good.
like growing up, my cousin Bethany, she was a pioneer, and she was like the example of like what it meant to be in the congregation. And then she got married and like immediately like left her husband and left everything and like moved, and like everybody always like called her crazy for it, but it's like she was like 18, 19, getting married for the first time, never like getting to experience life. And then for the rest of life, like growing up, especially in the Taylorville congregation and within my family, whenever somebody would talk about like somebody being like a bad example or doing something bad, it was like, oh, you're gonna be like Bethany. And I remember thinking that, and like I would see Bethany, like I saw her
That's cool.
after she left, because she left when I was like super young, like very young, like 4 or 5. So I had like small memories of her. But then I would see her like randomly at like some like high profile funerals and stuff. Um, and so I always was just like, man, she must be like living like a wild, crazy life. No, no, she got remarried, had kids, and like had like a pretty good job at GameStop, and like was like a managing director there. Like you hear all these like crazy like demonizing things, but it's like, oh,
Right,
you just put somebody under a lot of pressure, and then they went and did their own thing, and like after like having to make some bad, terrible choices, but it's like you didn't let them have anything else. And so like
right,
now, I know my cousin Bethany, and I'm like, this person is like, I'm way closer to her now than ever. I talk to her probably like once a day, and it's like this person is so much like kinder and sweeter, and like like more driven than anybody else in my like in my family that I had known. Anybody that would have like
wow,
criticized her, they're all like on like a high horse, about everything. They don't even know her. Like they don't even know anymore. Like you think that because somebody ran away when they were 18 after all the pressure that you put them under, that means that they're a bad person for life because they don't want to come back to that organization. No,
right.
no.
They're making, as far as I'm concerned, they're making a smart decision for themselves because they're protecting themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I see it as well. But anyway, sorry, I know I've been taking a lot of your time, but
No,
that,
would you mind if I asked you just a couple questions? Because I
yeah,
would
for
love to
sure.
know. So, so if I can, I kind of would like to just go through your story to make sure that I kind of surmise it. So you come from a family with very deep roots inside of the organization. You mentioned that, was it your grandfather that was the first, like one of the first elders, like appointed elders? Um, so that's going back a long did you say like 50 years, etc.? This, your family is rooted in the Jehovah's
Oh,
Witnesses.
longer than that. Yeah, my
So
my
that's a
father's 50, so
okay.
yeah.
So right. So yeah, you said, was it 90? You said he was, or
My
something of that
grandpa,
nature when he passed.
my mother's father was 92 when he passed, and he wasn't one of the first elders, but he had
Okay.
been a Jehovah's Witness. I think from the time that he was a child as well, like his family became a Jehovah's Witness. So he was literally a witness. I think during Rutherford's time, and maybe I
Wow.
can't remember when Russell left, but he might have been at the tail end of that. And then but he remembered Rutherford, and I remember I would try to like ask him questions about it, because I'm
I
like I
think
had heard so much about Rutherford, and like like read about crisis of conscience and everything, and I'm like, okay, like tell me about this guy, and he just wouldn't. He was one of those
oh, so
guys
he
like,
read that.
yeah,
Interesting.
no, no, no. He didn't read Crisis of Conscience. I read Crisis of
Oh,
Conscience.
okay.
Well, I didn't read
Oh,
the whole
oh,
book,
oh,
but
okay.
I read some of it. But like, I was like that was at the time that I was like, doing my self discovery when I was like 15, 16, 17. And he would be like, oh, he talked a lot. The judge, he talked. He was loud, And then that's all
Yeah.
he would like say. And it's like okay, my grandpa was a smart man that thought about everything that he said to everybody ever. Like he never answered a question quickly, so he'd sit there and like really ponder it. And even when he was gonna make a joke, like I asked him what the '70s were like, and he said, "Well, they're between the '60s and the '80s," and that's all he'd
Right.
say.
It's like
Like
grandpa jokes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But he always thought about every single thing that he would say to anybody. Like if and that's why if he said something that was hurtful, it hurt your feelings even more because it's not like he was just popping off and shit. It's like he sat there and really thought about what he was gonna
He
say to
meant what he
me.
said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was a good man. But like the last thing that he ever told me, well, the last thing that he told me was to come back before he died, to come back to the organization. And whenever he was in hospice, he was in hospice for like 2.5 months. I went frequently, especially to see my grandma, just to be there for her. But I remember like he pulled me in close and told me about Christmas, told me to read a Bible verse whenever I'm thinking about celebrating Christmas with these people, with the world. And then also, yeah, told me to come back. And then he died, and then I got married. I'm never going back, and now I'm here. But like,
Right.
I feel bad. Like it's one of those things that it's like I wish that it was something else because I did respect my grandfather. At the end of the day, it kind of blows
Yeah,
my
I
mind that he was
understand.
part of the organization for so long and didn't see like the fundamental issues within it. Like he just buried his head deep in the sand. Like he's dealing with Rutherford and everything therein, and he just never like he just bought it the whole time. Like because even
Right.
in my time, like there was like doctrinal changes and stuff like that. Like I remember when the overlapping generations thing came out. That was in the new one in like 2017. And like my mom was like mad about that, but it's like, okay, like how can you not see that this is just the ball, like the goalpost being shifted, like over and over again. But yeah, my family is deeply rooted in it. My grandpa was in it his whole life, and my other grandpa was also in it from a young age, like his whole life, and all of their siblings as well. My grandpa on my mom's side, I don't think all of his siblings are, but I don't really know because he was 92, so he was old when I was born. Half of his
Okay.
siblings,
Yeah.
most of them are dead. But yeah,
Well,
so
so you have this long history. At some point, you start to ask questions in your late teen years, but unfortunately, you do get baptized. So this means that now you're beholden to all these rules and regulations, and that leads to you being disfellowshipped as a teenager. You try to get back, writing letters. How long did it take you to get back in?
10 months.
10 months. Lucky guy. It took me, I think, a year and a half, something like that. Yeah, they were being jerks. But at this point, I wouldn't say jaded, but you're probably starting to realize like oh, maybe this isn't the place for me. You leave the Jehovah's Witnesses behind. Do you realize that's what you're doing?
Yeah,
Like, do you have okay? So because I'm just curious. Some people kind of fade purposely with the thought behind it, like, okay, I need to detach because I got to protect myself. But some people just fade
yeah,
away without really thinking about it. So you had an intention of like, okay, this isn't for me anymore.
yeah. I
I
was like, I
need
need to get the
to
fuck out. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. No,
beeline.
I was at the Behavioral Health Center of Illinois was the small business I worked at, and I didn't realize it at the time. Like the notion of how to accumulate wealth, like that's not my goal. But like I was just now starting to like learn about what that was. Like I had no intention of like truly knowing how to navigate a capitalistic system or participating in it without just paying the bills. As a kid, that's the only thing I saw was like get
We're
a job,
very
pay bills, go
unprepared.
to church. Right. So
Yes, yes.
I started to learn about like basic like economic like principles within capitalism, like landlordism. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like I can buy a house and like rent it out to somebody. Like nowadays, I don't really know if I would do that. I don't really like that notion.
I know,
But
me neither. I'm not a big fan.
yeah, but when I was like 18 and I was like, oh, I need to like figure out how to retire or whatever, like you could be financially stable and not be like my parents who were broke, right? Like and struggling and like crying because they can't pay their bills. And I was like, how do I do this differently? Plus, I was creative, and my boss was trying to get me to build my credit and get an investor to buy the house that was right next to the office and then live in the top of it because it had like an apartment and rent out the bottom. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. So I learned everything I could about like credit scores, and then I started like learning about like fire and retirement because I was like, I need to get enough money right now to get away from my parents, like right now, because like
Gotta
like
go.
even though like I had like a pretty, loving relationship with my mom, I know that as soon as I drop the ball that I'm done with this, that like I already have to be elsewhere. So I did
Right.
everything I could to get enough income to move out. And then I moved out. Then I went over for dinner and I told my mom, like I'm not going out in service. I'm not going back to the meetings.
Oh, okay. So you kind of, once you made your escape, you were like, here's the deal, Ma.
Yeah.
Wow. How did she
Yeah.
take that?
Well, she already knew it was coming. Like she could tell,
Okay, she had an
and like,
idea just from your behavior or whatnot. Distance,
yeah.
maybe?
Yeah, and when I was like a teenager, like there was like a couple of times where I'm like heartbroken or like like crying and like frustrated, and I'm like I want to dye my hair and like pierce my ears, like I want green hair and I want ear piercings,
Can
and
I
I
be a
can't do that because
teenager,
of the
please?
yeah, yeah, and so I like couldn't do that, and I got my first ever tattoo on my chest, and then like I would walk around shirtless around the house growing up, and then all of a sudden I just like stopped. And so it's like she finally like figured out that I had gotten the tattoo. Um, yeah, but yeah, I told my mom I had made my exit strategy, and I had like set up. I tried to set up enough support to really get the hell out, and then build my own identity from there. So for a while I was like I just went all in with banking because like I was leaving college because I was like I do have ADHD if you can't tell, and it was like really hard for me to deal with a full-time job as a banker, and then also like I couldn't do online classes. I was never going to be like focused enough on my online at that time to do those online classes. So I was going to like night school, and I started just like getting overwhelmed, and then, like I was like trying to do like stuff on social media at that time. Like I was like learning like how to make YouTube videos and stuff, and I like wanted to focus on that. And I just dropped out of college. I was like, I don't want to be here. I have to pay for it
Yeah.
myself. Like
Yeah.
I don't qualify for these student benefits until now. I'm just now old enough to like, apply for FAFSA or whatever off of my own income. And back then, I would have had to use my parents' income. And my dad had just conveniently paid my mom like $50,000 and like back
Child
child
support.
support. So I was just like, I'm not gonna qualify for FAFSA, and I'm
Right.
broke. And so I'm like paying for everything out of pocket, and I'm trying to talk to these advisors, and I'm trying to like find like the best like major for me or whatever, and I'm like jumping back and forth. But like every time I would go to a core curriculum class or whatever, it pissed me off because I'm like, one, why can't I test and see where I'm at in this class? Like, why can't like if
The
it's a core
setup.
curriculum class, then you should be able to test and see if it's necessary for you. I absolutely hate all the dogma, I guess, with college. That it's like, oh, well, you have to be well rounded. Well, it's like, okay, well, I am paying for this. Okay, like this isn't a freaking provided for you by the
Free
state.
service.
Like
No.
service that people can take advantage of. It's like, okay, like I understand like the self-fulfillment narrative that you have. I'm telling you right now, I'm not gonna have that because college for me is instrumental. I'm going to night school, okay? Like I'm working a full-time job. I'm not like a kid whose parents want them to go to college and are paying for it. My parents didn't want me to go to college, and I was paying for it.
Right.
And so, like, as soon as I realized that it wasn't going to benefit me, I mean, maybe it would have, but a lot of the people that I know that have college degrees are in a similar boat as me with far more debt. And now, I have like 40
And
plus
not in
years
the
of
industry.
like financial experience, and now I have my own business. It's like I don't really regret my decision to leave. But
I'm so glad you did.
yeah, but I mean I have some student debt, but whatever. But
I mean, I think college is great, but if you don't want to be there, like if then you should not be there. You just
yeah,
shouldn't. Like if you feel like it's not doing it for you, like if the money you're spending, you don't feel like you're getting the educate whatever it is, don't I
yeah,
don't
but
think that we should be telling people they have to go to college if it doesn't work for them.
for sure. Like I have like my friends now. For a long time, I was friends with people that were just older than me because I was working, and everybody else my age that I knew was like in college. So like they didn't have they were still dealing with like school drama because they're like 20, and but they haven't gone into the real world yet, so they're still dealing with like the same type of issues I would see in high school. And like by then, like I had homeschooled after my freshman year of high school in Taylorville, and we moved to Springfield, and I was doing sign language, so I just went ahead and decided to graduate in like 9 months or whatever, so I could be done and go to work and like do all that stuff. And I just felt like it was crazy that people could be 20 and still like dealing with these like highly irrational like problems. I just like it just didn't make sense to me. And like now, like my friend is a small business owner, and he just graduated last year. And like a lot of the people that he'll have come and work at his business were like also like college graduates of his, and like hardly any of them have any like true understanding of like work ethic, or like it like they don't show up on time. They're like 20-30 minutes late. All right. And then like they don't do like anything that's like being asked of them because they haven't cultivated those skills. They don't know what it's like. And then they don't take it seriously, and like it's just like it's baffling to me that somebody's like in their 20s doing that. Because like when you're 16 and you're like you get your first job and you're trying to like learn the ropes, like learn how it works, but not when you're in your 20s. And college does do that to people. And also like I think it's important for people, just on that note, to like analyze why they're in school and what they're trying to get out of it. Like if somebody's like
Yeah, good point.
set on being a doctor, yeah, that's great, dude. Go be a doctor, go to school, that's great. But like also, one, why do you want to be a doctor? Is it to make a bunch of money? Because then you shouldn't be a doctor.
You're gonna hate your
And
job, trust me.
yeah, because you're gonna be working with people, and also you're gonna be
Sick
in so
people.
much debt that you're not gonna be making money until you're in your 40s. So
Right.
it's like, don't do that for monetary reasons. Do that because that drives you. And if you're in college for like a self-fulfilling thing, like that might be good, but don't ruin your life by getting into a bunch of high interest debt right at 19, 20 for a degree that might not allow you to pay it back.
How about I ask like a two-part question? If you had to tell somebody about your life and about the Jehovah's Witnesses, what would be maybe one takeaway that you would tell people as I hate saying warning because I feel like it just feels so ominous. Like, I'm going to warn you about high control religion. But if you had maybe hmm, advice, do you have any advice for people who are questioning their beliefs that you feel like could maybe help them along their way, since you're somebody who has done that exact thing? You've led yourself out of religion by asking yourself questions, etc.
Yeah, for sure. So my number one piece of advice for anybody who's questioning anything, any belief system or whatever, is truth stands to scrutiny, like I said. So if you're questioning it and
Absolutely.
you want the answer, you know, find it. And if you're afraid to find the answer, then I think you already have it. So like use that as your guide.
Yes.
Like you gotta, and if somebody's telling you to stop asking questions, or if they if they're not going to provide a true answer and they're just going to deflect and negate that, then the answer is right there in front of your face. It doesn't exist. It doesn't. It's not true. It's not truth. If there's
Right.
if something's true, then there's a reason to believe it. And if that's not being presented, or if, when it's scrutinized and broken down and falsified and like not provable, then that's your answer, I
There
think.
you have it. Right. That is your answer, point blank. What would you say is one of the most freeing things that you enjoy now that you couldn't enjoy unless you were feeling guilty as someone who grew up in a high control religion? Is there anything that you enjoy today that you would have not been able to do back then?
Yeah, I mean, so yes, and I'm gonna answer
It's
this
probably
question.
20 million things.
Yeah, so I mean, as far as like a surface level thing, like, yeah, of course, like I own a cannabis business, 420pipes.com. Go there. Thank you. Sorry. Had to shout myself out.
No, you got
But
to. You got to give yourself a shout out. Do it. It's fine.
I like the fact that I'm able to, like, contribute to that culture, and like truly appreciate, like, different levels of like psychoactive substances, experiment with drugs like, cannabis and mushrooms and stuff like that. I think that's like pretty cool. I think it was really great that I got to meet somebody that, I connected with and loved, outside of like a religious, experience. Like my wife was never in the religion, and I got to build a deep connection with her that, had nothing to do with that. And like, that's freeing. I love movies and cinema. I love the fact that I can like research anything at all, and not have to feel guilty like trying to learn and understand the information. Um, I love that, like, if like I said, if there's a movie I want to go see, I'm gonna hop on my car and go see it. Um,
Right. No guilt.
like, yeah, like, okay, like catch me watching the Paranormal Activity movies now, but um,
Demons.
I know. And see, like, movies like that scared me for so long, but I really like that. But I think that the thing that I love the most, like at the core of it all, is the fact that you, like, the decisions that you make are for you. Like, at the end of the day, it's like right or wrong, left, right, up, down, whatever. It's like you get to define what works and what's important to you, and like what your life looks like. It's like,
Right.
once you leave the organization or any high control group, and you're out of like the cookie cutter narrative that they want you to follow. There's a lot more satisfaction and fulfillment therein. Like, this isn't even my first business venture, right? But like I'm in business. Like, clearly you can see I'm not like a like a money grubbing, greedy, like, monopoly man. I
Right.
gotta have all the money.
Gotta make that
But
money.
there's just something in me that is constantly like inspiring me to like go and try to do my own thing. And I've always been that way. Like when I was working at the bank, I was trying to sell like used books that I got from like Goodwill. Okay, on Amazon. I had no idea what I was doing, and I was trying to do that social media thing. And then I made a board game during COVID. Actually, it's right here. It failed. It was a failed Kickstarter. It's called
Oh,
Economy,
damn.
and it's about like stocks and real estate and stuff. And I keep it with me because like, even though it was a failure, the game itself was like the first thing that I ever like followed through on. I built the whole thing. The game is done.
Wow.
And like boards and designs and cards are all in here. Like, this is a whole thing that I created. And before that, like I mentioned before with ADHD, sometimes it's hard to like follow through or like commit on something, especially like once the
Completion.
serotonin's gone. And so now, like 2 years into this, especially like when I'm on the hustle and bustle and I'm on the grind and I got like bills that need to be paid, and I'm not like financially stable like I was, before this, it's just like reminds me that like I gotta be persistent in doing that, you know.
Right.
But I do that because there's something in me that like allows me to follow that. And once you let go of the chains from the organization or whatever, you can pursue your own passion. No matter what it is. It doesn't matter
Right.
if it's small, like going out for walks with your dog, on a Saturday morning now, because you have the time to do that, or just even like
Not going out field
thinking,
service.
yeah, or like thinking whatever thought that you want, or like understanding, like like Aristotle, or like whatever you want, right? I just think that that's great. Like I would love, like so many people had dreams that they squandered and wasted because of the high control group. And I think that like once
Right.
you like allow yourself to be able to dream, even if you fail, like even if like tomorrow I shut this business down and the doors are closed, like at least like I've pursued it and like I've put everything
Right.
in it. Like, or if I'm gonna be honest, I'm not gonna get shut down. Like if I ever am closed, it's like I'm being pulled out kicking and screaming. But um, just like as like anecdotal, but it's just like even if you don't become what you thought you could become when you leave, just being able to like pursue life and like experience it to the fullest. Even the bad stuff that maybe the organization would have sheltered you from experiencing. You know, I think it's just worth it. I think it's worth it. I think it's just like I don't know. Like,
It's the
I'll relate it
freedom
back
to
to
have
this.
those thoughts.
What?
It's the freedom to go through those thoughts, to think them out and not feel bad about them or that you're doing something wrong for just
Yeah.
being curious, being human.
Yeah, it's the freedom to like make a decision. Yeah, because like whenever you're in the organization, you want to watch a movie. What you gotta get approval. You
What would
gotta get
Jesus do?
yeah, and it's like I remember like when I was a kid, like if you wanted to go to a concert or something, but it was on a meeting night, it was like, oh no, you can't go to that concert because it's our meeting night.
No,
But
no,
then
no.
it's like
Right.
like we started to justify. It's like, okay, well in Springfield they have meetings Monday through Friday. So like if I miss my meeting, it's okay. I don't have a part that night. I'm gonna go over there. And then when I was a
Right.
teenager, they started making like talks that were like, no, you gotta be like
You
committed and
can't
like
go to other,
like it's
right.
gotta be your meeting. You gotta be at your. And so like I remember like one time there was like this girl whose name was Taylor that like really wanted to go to like a concert or something, and she was like a pioneer. And I think it might have even been a service day. I don't even know if it was a meeting day. It might have been a Sunday, but I think it was a Saturday. And she wanted to go to the concert and was like, oh, I don't know, I can't do it. I was like, just go to a different meeting. Like, you're fine. Like, you can make up your time, whatever. Like, you can
Right.
still get your spiritual food. And she's like, oh, I'm gonna pray about it. And then she like decided to not go. But it's like, okay, of course you're gonna pray about it and then decide to not go because you're just gonna reinforce whatever dogmatic belief that the cult is forcing down your throat at that time. And since
Yep.
they're telling you like, oh, you gotta do this, that's gonna be what you do. That's gonna be you're not actually making a decision, and you're not being guided to do anything by a supernatural force. You're just reaffirming what the religious leaders had told you. Like
Yep.
that's my issue with that. It's like, okay, like let me go pray about something. Like I'll go pray about my business. Should I keep it? Oh yes, I should. Like that was like like I told the same thing to my mom about like the governing body. Like how do we know, like how do you believe that? Like how do we say that like all these other people aren't going to heaven and like aren't talking to God, but you believe that these specific people are? And she's like, well, because they feel it. And I was like, so do I.
Right.
Yeah.
I think your advice fits well, though. We should be able to flesh out all these different ideas. We should be able to talk about them when it comes to business, when it comes to religion. If I'm holding a belief that is really outlandish, whatever it is, maybe I believe that every fifth day the Lord and Savior comes down and impregnates me. I don't know. I mean, yeah, that's really weird. But I would hope that somebody would say, like, hey, Ryan, like, are you okay? Like, are you okay? Like, maybe you need to like go talk. What is happening every fifth day to you? Like, what are you going through? Something's not right. But yeah,
I
I
appreciate
mean,
that. It
absolutely.
doesn't feel that way sometimes, but especially whenever
Yeah.
whenever you know that your parents just aren't going to be proud of you unless you do one specific thing that just is against your core. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but you know
Well,
what? It's worth it, and you only got one life, so don't like worry about what other people have to say. I mean,
and
take like I said, with if you want like criticism or constructive criticism, if you want to move on, like yeah. But if somebody is like telling you to do something that's against your core fundamental beliefs, and with no reason, or
yeah.
logic behind it besides I want you to do this, then don't follow your own shit.
Exactly. It's bigger and better things when we can have our own critical thoughts about stuff and not be just fed information without being able to question. Hands down, there's just not a way to live your
It's
life.
not.
It's not. Well, I'm sure that you, even though maybe you still have some, situations in your family because of the Jehovah's Witness religion that you might not be able to associate with them, I'm hoping and I'm sure you seem like a very kind person, intelligent. I'm sure that you're making friends who are going to be just as close as family. So I don't think you ever have anything to worry about.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. This has been a great time. Thank you for doing with it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for taking your time out. All right, friends, I hope you enjoyed that interview as much as I did. Please don't forget, like, subscribe, share. And if you're going to be at the DC protest this Tuesday, make sure you come say hello and introduce yourself. I'm looking forward to seeing former and current Jehovah's Witnesses alike, so we can use our voice and show people that we're not going to sit idly by while this organization abuses children and silences them. Love you. Mean it. Bye.